Okay. My name is Ramirez, FrogBear.zil. Let me make myself tinier so I fit in the frame, nice uniform, do all that good stuff. Turn on this light. Hopefully it doesn't fuck up the frame. Either way. So some conversations are easier had with the veneer of stupid shit like this. So I can then have all the discussion I want about this subject and use the veneer of tarot to kind of discredit anything I'll say, because people will be too stupid to do their own research in order to see if what they see is real for their own eyes. Oh no. Yeah, my name's Ramirez, FrogBear.zil. That's things, those are names. You could just attach this face, those names, that's how it works, and I think I got everything I need. Okay. So Hexen 2.0, if I should explain anything meaningful, is this woman. Her name is Suzanne Treister. 2009 to 2011 is when this work was initially done, presented, and or debuted, is what I'm assuming. She made a tarot deck. She made a book. That's usually the ordeal, how this sort of thing works. She has a variety of different cards that display a variety of different conspiracy theories. So for the purpose of what I want to talk about, which is the Techno-Kratic Society that people are also doom and gloom about, I wanted to bring up just the history of hackers and how it's been one of the most silent wars that has been fought, and how there's no real way to say who's who, what factions are what, but there's a clear distinction that there is no citizen militia, there is no agency amongst civilians, and by and large, it's mandatory that the citizens don't know this side of their rights, because marketing culture, algorithms, basically our entire internet infrastructure is built on top of us offering our information to them for free. So, Clodo, Committee for the Liquidation of Subversion of Computers, Comité Liquidante o Detonante les Ordinateurs. We are the workers in the field of data processing and consequently well placed to know the current and future dangers of data processing and telecommunications. The computer is the favorite tool of the dominant. It is used to exploit, to put on file, to control, and to repress. And this is a hacker group, Clodo. If you just type that in, you'll get a Committee for Liquidation of Subversion of Computers. Was a French neo-Lutante anarchist organization that attacked computer telecommunication companies in the early 1980s. I think there is a movie based on all of these events. So hacker culture is very interesting because I think most people only recognize the most popular movie with Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie, right? Somebody you would consider a lead actor whose entire image, entire persona, entire career was engineered to some degree. Either way, it lists certain events that happened. C11, Honeywell, La Union, Paris. Either way, highlighting just I guess I could get into what the Two of Wands means, but let's focus on the hacker culture for right now. And I pulled while looking at this card, and while looking at I think I was looking at Google Images, a second card kind of popped into my purview, and I found it very interesting what it said. And it's a H.P. Lovecraft quote. I'm not sure where this quote is specifically pulled from. I'm guessing that information. Oh no, wait, The Call of Cthulhu, 1926. H.P. Lovecraft. This is the Five of Chalice. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but some day the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. That quote fucked me up because, right, like this was like right after the morning I did. No, it wasn't right after the morning. It was right after I left. But to read that quote, it sat all day with me. It literally sat all day with me because it answered a very deep-rooted question that I've had in just internally as me, my being, which is how I've coped with me being able to see these patterns that exist within people. And I could see myself exhibiting these patterns too, right? I remember pivotal moments where there was a decision to be made and me making the wrong decision and me knowing that that was not the right decision, but still making that decision anyways. Like there's this frightening truth to this passage that just answers a lot of my own questions that I have for myself, but it answers the larger question, which is nobody is well versed or has the facilities or trains their mind in such a way that they could actually take all of this disassociated information and then putting it together to open up a greater vista or right, to get a better vantage point of the landscape that you're trying to view, is the way I look at it. And the reason why this matters to me is because this is how I viewed it. Like my entire life, there are like what I would, there are truths, you know what I mean? Like if you put a pan with water on top of fire, it will eventually reach a boiling point, right? Like there were certain axioms of truth that I've developed in my own head, right? And I always used to think about this a lot as a kid, where you could not deny these truths. Like with lightning, how it was attracted to certain metals. And it's why magnets are made, right? Because it'll hit a certain kind of metal, magnetizing it, da-da-da-da-da. There was just these certain axiom truths that you can't break, right? Blah, blah, blah. Gravity being one of them, because if you drop something, it'll fall. And I developed some that were internal truths to my species, right? Like cats liking fish, dogs liking this, or they weren't complete absolute truths, but relatively you can count on a percentage of it being right. What was I going to say with this? Either way, the sciences, each training in its own direction. Either way. And just me noticing that aspects of the truth that I was coming to was realizing that people were never going to piece together how one, like, let's say how 9/11 relates to where we are now. Why does the maintaining of this lie matter in the grand scheme of things? Why does allowing certain questions not to be asked that lead to a bigger truth? And it's because when I've been viewing my reality, I've been viewing it as a giant puzzle. And each time I've added to it, right, some of it relates to the human experience. Some of it relates to truths that are physics in nature. Others relate to truth of animal behavior versus human behavior. And cataloging these truths and putting them on like a giant board in my head. And the more, one of them is human history, right? Because we piece together what our ancestors have done before us. That's an aspect of it. And while I've been piecing it together, I have such a very different view of the world now because, it's like a video game. You've unlocked different things that have given you pieces to a much larger piece that for me it's easy to just allocate this information, put it somewhere and be like, okay, if I'm referencing this idea or this concept or this theme, this is the knowledge. Like there's a giant catalog in my head and everything goes in there. Great quote. Great quote. I've never read the Call of Cthulhu though, so either way. Then the last card that caught my attention was the Eight of Chalices. What caught most of my attention was this guy Lewis Mumford, because if you look into him, all of the books he's written are very interesting. The City and History, Technics and Civilization, The Pentagon of Power, The Myth of the Machine, Technics and Human Development, The Culture of Cities, The Story of Utopias, The Condition of Man. Like, all of these books would just sound like shit that I would want to read. Lewis Mumford was an American historian, sociologist, philosopher of technology, and literary critic, particularly noted for his studies of cities and urban architecture. Seems very interesting if you ask me. Either way. Looking more just at the surface level of what this card says, Biotechnics, an organic model of technology, The Myth of the Machine, Volume 1, Development, 1967, Volume 2, The Pentagon of Power, just writing his books, writing quotes from his books, but the one that really caught my attention, where is it? Wars of Supremes, no. The Supremes drama of a... Yeah, I wish I actually tried looking for a better resolution of this card, but I don't think me zooming in would make this any better. Create a uniform, all enveloping superplanetary structure disposed for automatic operation instead of functioning activity as an autonomous personality. Man will become a passive, purposeless machine, conditioned animal whose power functions as technicians. Non-interpret man's role well. I'm pretty sure that I can find this in the book, and this is called Mega Technics, and he talks about how conditioning man, conditioning human as this machine, and it's very interesting his use of words. A purposeless man. I don't know. It makes me wonder if there's any correlating information that would lead me to believe, or at least this line of thinking, this line of philosophizing, this line of being able to, what would you call it? It takes a certain kind of mind in order to develop or conceive of certain kind of ideas. So for him to function, or at least his thought process to function in such a capacity where he's thinking of the man, he's thinking of his fellow human being as a programmable machine. He's not thinking of him as my neighbor, as Bill, as Bob. No, he's thinking of it as, this is an engineering problem. My bosses clearly want me to know how to make you purposeless, so that the only purpose that you will fulfill is the purpose of whoever gives you your purpose, right? It's why in They Live, when he looks at money, it said, this is your God. Because currently the only purpose people really have is chase that bag, man. Chase your bag, man. Fuck females. Right, that's an aspect of it. In Destiny's case, Destiny would probably say, Go to school, indebt yourself, go work for the man, find a job that'll fit right in the system. Live cohesively amongst your American infrastructure. It's like that broken ass billboard that, like, once the arm gets here, this arm doesn't even show. Either way. Very interesting how I discovered all of these. Well, I've known about this deck of cards, but I kind of like the deck of cards being a surprise, so I won't necessarily go out of my way to look at these cards every day or look into any of this. I just, like, just right now, got home, decided to look at some of these things, just do some light reading, and just find myself in a pleasant mood where I'm like, oh right, there's this square over my face. I just realized this. Look at these cards, see what I can find. Like, I have a random bot generator, so I just kind of beep boop beep boop. It pulled up the Two of Wands first, and it was about hacker culture. And I do not consider myself a hacker. Like, I always found myself in circles with other people who knew what they were talking about, and they would ask me, like, yo, bro, like, how do you know about all this? And I'd always have to explain, like, look, I don't know how to do anything. I've never touched a computer or understood systems that way or this or that. And they'd always look at me and be like, oh, bro, don't worry about it. Like, and I'd always have to be like, no, I really don't know anything. Like, I really do not know anything. And he's like, bro, don't worry. Like, none of us are feds, dude. And I'd just be like, oh, fuck. Always find yourself in that catch-22. But they had eventually figured out that I was just some idiot. I was just some idiot kid who used to hang out with like, the thing that was always tossed at me that I remember was, how did you find yourself in that IRC chat? How did you find yourself thinking that it was a good idea as a 12-year-old to hang out on online groups? Like, I don't know. I was playing this MMORPG, and this guy told me that he'd give me hacks if I joined this chat. Literally, that's how it works. Right? For me, that's how it worked back in 2007. Imagine now, with the ease of access the internet is, with the ease of access like social media platforms are. It's ridiculous. But hit a really soft spot, you know. Seeing like early anarchist organizations, like seeing early hackers actually do like some damage. You know, it's kind of why payphones don't exist anymore, because payphones were a point of access. There's a bunch of other reasons why, but yeah, payphones don't exist for the main reason of just being like a hacker point, like a hackers seek out after them because there's a way for you to connect to it and give yourself an IP address. But at the same time, because it's not really a modem, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a piece of hardware that's meant, I don't know how to explain this. You could send a signal, right? Like, there's a signal there. It's just, that was not their intended, like, nobody, when they designed phones, they did not intend for that to be a feature. It was more a vulnerability than anything else. Like, if you ever meet somebody that works in like the fucking computer thing, like, they'll all tell you that the easiest way for a hacker to steal all your shit is to have physical access to the machine. Like, if you have physical access to any machine, it's fucked. Like, you're completely fucked. Through the internet, there's a bunch of other things you can do, but if a person knows what they're doing and they have physical access to the machine, you're fucked. But that's a whole other issue. You know what I mean? Like, and I love expanding, and this is going to go back to the H.P. Lovecraft. I love expanding my view of the world. I love expanding my view of understanding how everything works, understanding how infrastructure works. It's kind of why one of the main reasons why I understand the situation in the Middle East the way I do is largely because it's all about energy. It's all about oil. It's all about the maintainment of the biggest lie ever. It's so big that nobody has looked at Al Gore and questioned his figures, because all he'll say is, oh, we based that on modeling. And you'd realize that modeling just means that we had a conclusion in mind and we modeled our data after that conclusion that we had in mind, without You know what I mean? Either way, you can't touch that lie, dude. That's one lie that nobody will be able to fucking touch with a 20-foot pole, which is understanding that dark stuff that comes from the ground is much more common than we like to think it is. It's why it hasn't fully depleted. It's Let's not even get to the manipulation of the commodities market. Like, let's not even get into the manipulation of commodities in general. Like, I just uploaded a fantastic video on my Instagram that I could probably pull up because why not? We'll do it live, baby. Beep beep. Beep beep. Yeah, look at my Instagram. Where is it? This one.
As far as I'm concerned, since we met you people 500 years ago, look at us. We've given everything. You are still taking. It's true. I mean, where will the whole Western world be without Africa?
Yeah, deadass. Where would the whole Western world be without the cheap ass labor that they had for a couple hundred years? Where would they be without the minerals, without just the raw resource that comes out of there? And she names it all. She names palm oil, the metals. I don't even know I don't know what raw resources come out of Africa, but this is Africa we're talking about. There's a reason why the Chinese have a very vested interest in making sure that they take out as much men as possible from Africa, throw them over to Europe, and be like, look, now we have a country that we can invade because all of the men are fucking gone. It's like, dude, you couldn't read. Like, I'm watching Checkers, my boy. Was this supposed to be difficult to understand? Because it's not that difficult to understand. Africa has a bunch of raw resources that the Western world used to build itself up and prop itself up. But now, all of a sudden, it's like we're going to take all those raw resources and we're going to hand them over to the Chinese. Just the same way that they handed all over the American jobs from 2002 to 2008 and then blamed it on the Mexicans. Great stuff. Great stuff. Like, you really couldn't write better jokes. Like, you really couldn't. And to be done in such a way where your white voter base just, oh yeah, dude, fuck those Mexicans for taking my job. Oh, I'll see you later, Xing Xing. Make sure you know how to use that machine and don't blow your right arm off. And meanwhile, every single internet video is just the Chinese literally hurting themselves on all of the American equipment that they took from America. Like, do we not see the levels of irony that just... Karma is a very interesting thing, right? How it manifests itself in reality. Either way. This is not a World Star Hip Hop video. But she keeps going on. And it was a very interesting take. Just to point out the obvious fact that Africa has all the raw resources. But what she points out is none of the people or none of the boots on the floor, none of the boots on the ground. None of the boots on the ground are making any of that money. In reality, that money gets squeezed somewhere, either through whatever corrupt politician, whatever corrupt business deal, I don't know what facets of control would be used in Africa to control the flow of money. And I think if you were to figure that out, they'd probably kill you. But that's a different story for a different day. Back to tarot, right? Because that's a very hey man, you should stay away from the topic. All right, so the root of modern technology comes from the medieval clock, and the medieval clock that they're talking about, which I always think is funny because astrological. Which is this one, which I think is in Prague. Either way. Giordano Bruno. This is the cover of the book that I have, actually, from Giordano Bruno. But, yeah. This clock is hella crazy. What is it showing on screen? Yeah, this is good enough. So how do you design a clock that keeps track of the moon, the sun, their rotations, all based on a geo pinpoint location at a time where you had no computers. At a time where your most advanced calculator was probably an hibiscus. How do you do that? What kind of mind existed at that time to manufacture that sort of rotating mechanism at a how Sway, how? I don't even want to yell. That would be way too loud. But you know, it was totally normal for people who lived in dirt huts to just do this. Totally normal for people to do this when the literacy rate was fucking garbage. I don't even want to go into that. It's way too much for that. Woo-woo. I've done this for 25 minutes. I think this is good enough. Next time I make a video, I'll probably have read 2 of this dude's books to see what it is. Cause I also just downloaded Ecoscience or Eco something environmentalism. It was some stupid ass book that was written by Kissinger. So I got that, and I'll probably pick one of this dude's books and probably talk about it a little bit. And expect the edited video to be a song study. Yeah, sounds about right. Either way, my name is Ramirez. This is FrogBear.zil. No, I don't know.